I've got good news. And by that, I mean really awful and terrifying news. So, how's your year going so far? Chinese lab tests 100% deadly virus strain. Okay. Well, apparently, learning nothing from COVID, scientists are still engaged in gain-of-function research to make the most deadly viruses known to man, which will probably at some point leach out into the population. And then, I guess the best we can hope for is zombie apocalypse, because at least in some sense that would be fun in the fantasy fighting zombies kind of idea. I think the reality is most people would not have any kind of fun at all in a zombie apocalypse. But because we all watched movies, it seems like it'd be fun, despite the fact that the characters are always rather terrified. Anyway, I had a friend once, he made a joke. He says, I want and encourage a zombie apocalypse. And I'm like, yeah, because you watch these movies and there's adventure and all that stuff. But the reality of these deadly diseases spreading rapidly all over the place, you'd be scared to leave your closet. And you'd be fighting with Agnes in the Walmart parking lot over the last can of beans. And then if the zombies actually came, the reality is zombie bites are not a good way of actually spreading a zombie virus. So any kind of like actual zombie plague would probably be liquid, blood-borne virus. Well, I mean, to be honest, imagine a zombie virus, a plague that was airborne. Yikes. Anyway, we're getting off topic here. Let's get to the news. Chinese scientists create a mutant coronavirus strain that attacks the brain and has a 100% kill rate in mice. As they admit, there's a risk it spills over to humans. Why are you making this? Like, at least the idea with nuclear bombs is that we choose to fire them. And if they all get fired, well, someone had to make a choice. And even that can go out of control. But you make a virus that just kills everybody and it can spread accidentally. But sure, maybe this will be the great filter. Chinese scientists have been experimenting with a mutant coronavirus strain that is 100% lethal in mice, despite concerns such research could spark another pandemic. Scientists in Beijing, who are linked to the Chinese military, cloned a COVID-like virus found in pangolins known as GXP2V and used it to infect mice. The mice have been humanized, meaning they were engineered to express a protein found in people, with the goal being to assess how the virus might react in humans. Every rodent that was infected with the pathogen died within 8 days, which the researchers described as surprisingly quick. Oh, are you excited for 2024? The team were also surprised to find high levels of viral load in the mice's brains and eyes, suggesting the virus, despite being related to COVID, multiplies and spreads through the body in a unique way. Oh, I love this. They're giving us everything we could hope for and more, which is a potential apocalyptic scenario. Maybe it's on purpose because then they can use the pandemic to depopulate the earth or just control people through fear. Writing in a scientific paper that has not yet been published, they warned the finding underscores a spillover risk of GXP2V into humans. Oh, look at pangolins. I hear pangolins are really dangerous because they have all these diseases or whatever, but look how silly and funny that thing is. It's like a goofy looking little critter. See, the virus was discovered in pangolins in Malaysia, scaly mammals that are known harborers of coronaviruses and were heavily speculated to be the intermediate host that passed COVID from bats to humans. Yikes. What was that? Someone ate a pangolin at a wet market? Professor Francois Ballot, an infectious disease expert based at University College of London, wrote on Twitter, "It's a terrible study, scientifically totally pointless. I can see nothing of vague interest that could be learned from force infecting a weird breed of humanized mice with a random virus. Conversely, I could see how such stuff might go wrong." Professor Richard Ebright, a chemist at Rutgers University in New Brunswick, New Jersey, told the Daily Mail he wholeheartedly agreed with Professor Ballot's assessment. He added, "The preprint does not specify the biosafety level and biosafety precautions used for the research. The absence of this information raises the concerning possibility that part or all of this research, like the research in Wuhan in 2016 through 19 that likely caused COVID-19 pandemic, recklessly was performed without the minimal biosafety containment and practices essential for research with a potential pandemic pathogens." Come on, man. Seriously, the reason why aliens are not going to give us technology is because could you imagine what we would do with it? Listen, What do you think would happen if you went to like the North Sentinel Island and handed these people a bunch of fully automatic AK-47s? Do you think they would responsibly wield these weapons? No. People would kill their enemies. So it's like an uncontacted human tribe, for those that don't know North Sentinel Island. They'd kill their enemies instantly, and the rest of them would just open fire on us and our helicopters. There's the famous video where the helicopter is like flying near the island and they're firing bows and arrows at the helicopter. Like, well, there you go. If you give an uncontacted tribe weapons, they will use them in dangerous ways. I'll put it this way. Imagine if someone went to, like, I don't know, a bunch of Antifa and gave them, let's imagine a skin-tight suit that generates a force field, allows them to fly and fire blasts of energy. What do you think these people would do with those suits? Bullets can't hurt them anymore. They can fly, and they can vaporize anybody with seemingly limitless power. These people are going to go around and become dictators in 2 seconds. Aliens are not going to show up to Earth and give us all these weapons because we'll do dumb things with them. My point. We here in the United States and other countries, we will invent something, and then crackpot, insane Chinese communist military guys will be like, I'm going to make the virus. When we invent this stuff, we create BSL-4, Biosafety Level 4, meaning 4 layers to prevent this virus from escaping. When we then develop these technologies that allow for genetic engineering and gain-of-function research, other countries that don't have the same level of safety precautions set up or advancement will then use them in reckless ways, like this. And it could wipe out the planet. But how you doing? The absence of this information raises the concerning possibility that it could basically lead to another COVID-19. According to the study carried out by the Beijing University of Chemical Technology, the virus was discovered in 2017 prior to the COVID outbreak. It was discovered in Malaysia in pangolins. We know what pangolins are. We read that already. It is unclear when the newly surfaced study was conducted, but the researchers said it was possible the virus had undergone a virulence-enhancing mutation in storage, which made it more deadly. For the new research, 8 mice were infected with the virus, 8 were infected with an inactivated virus, and 8 were used as a control group. Have fun. All mice infected with the virus died. They succumbed to the infection between 7 and 8 days after being infected. Symptoms included their eyes turning completely white, rapid weight loss, and fatigue. Researchers found significant amounts of the virus in the rodents' brains, lungs, noses, eyes, and windpipes. By day 6, the viral load had significantly decreased in the lungs, but the animals' brains had shrunk, and there were exceptionally high virus levels in their brains. Yo, this is creepy. The results suggest the virus infects via the respiratory system and then migrates to the brain, unlike COVID, which causes lower lung infections and pneumonia in severe cases. However, there have been examples of COVID being found in brain tissue of severely sick patients. Severe brain infection during the later stages of infection may be the key cause of death in these mice, they concluded. This is the first report showing that a SARS-CoV-2 related pangolin coronavirus can cause 100% mortality in HACE2 mice, suggesting a risk for GXP2V to spill over into humans. Well, stop screwing around with it! However, the original strain of COVID also killed 100% in mice in some studies, meaning the new results may not be directly applicable to humans. They probably aren't. But seriously? Dr. Gennady Glinsky, a retired professor of medicine at Stanford, said on social media, this madness must be stopped before it's too late. Hey, look, they include a picture of Peter Daszak and Dr. Fauci, the 2 guys most likely responsible for the COVID-19 pandemic. Man, how many people died? That's kind of crazy, you know? Dr. Fauci funding the EcoHealth Alliance and all of that stuff may make them, I don't want to say directly responsible, because I'm not saying that Fauci went to the labs, said, make the virus, and then did all this stuff. But they are the people involved in the process, which resulted in, let's just put it as lightly as possible. It's the industry of gain-of-function research. And Rand Paul called out Fauci for his funding of gain-of-function research. So I hold these guys responsible. In my opinion, Dr. Fauci is responsible. And it's horrifying that we're still on this path. It's never going to stop. We talk about AI a lot, and everyone asks, we know the dangers of AI. Why won't anyone stop? Because if one company stops, another company does it. U.S. researchers say if we don't make it, China will make it. And that's where we are now. Chinese scientists working on these projects are simply saying the same thing that everyone else is saying. If we don't do this technology, someone else will, and it'll be used against us. Perhaps that is the reasoning. Perhaps this is the answer to Fermi's paradox, the doomed fate of all life to chase after weapons or technology that will destroy them. Final thought on this. I think the great filter is probably the answer to the Fermi's paradox, or it's likely to be. Let me tell you about ignition. A point at which you get a piece of carbon hot enough to where a fire starts. Oxygen and carbon mix, fire comes out, heat, energy. And as the heat from this process, I believe it's a fusion process, spreads and hits the other particles, they ignite. Ignition is the point at which it becomes self-perpetuating and consumes itself. There are probably many ignition points for many things. When we talk about fire, it's the release of energy from, let me see if I can remember my 5th grade science classes correctly. You have carbon and you have oxygen, and then I believe that's carbon and oxygen. And when the oxygen and the carbon heats up to a certain point at which it can fuse with the oxygen, it creates carbon dioxide, releases a ton of energy. That energy then heats up the carbon surrounding it, which causes the same thing to happen. That's at least, I think, I'm probably getting away wrong. I don't track that stuff anymore. I can talk to you about humans and politics or whatever. But there's fusion ignition as well. There could be a period at which someone is screwing around with technology. They slam some particles together in a Large Hadron Collider, causing an atomic ignition, which destroys all matter on Earth. Thanks, scientists. But who knows? What do you do about it? I'd say at the very least, do not make crazy viruses that kill people. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all then.